With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They're made from the rarest organic cotton and designed to get even softer over time. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee plus 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. So head to BOLLandbranch.com today. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
This is Kansas State's Cooper Beebe, and you're listening to the Powercat Postgame Podcast on the 24/7 Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you're subscribing to this show on your favorite podcast provider.
Welcome to an edition of the Powercat Postgame Podcast. I am Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowercat publisher, joined here in the McLean Stadium press box by Cole Carmody, who came down to watch with some buddies and now is going to do a post-game podcast. Let me just ask you this. First of all, folks, Kansas State wins 31-3. An impressive performance. We'll get into all that happened here tonight. But a couple housekeeping things. We're sponsored by Caddyshack Golf. Make sure you go check out Caddyshack Golf's website. It's Caddy with two T's, caddyshackgolf.com. Go check it out. Folks, it's hoodie season. They have all new hoodies in with the Golfin' Willie apparel right on the chest. They're awesome. Just go check out the stuff. Even if you're not a golfer, you're going to love what you see at Caddyshack Golf. Thanks to Brett and everyone for the ongoing support. And even more importantly, Cole, how was your fan experience at McLean Stadium? And it's named, by the way, after the diehard guy. I don't know if you knew that. John McLean Stadium. Yeah.
It was interesting. This is actually the first time I've come to a K-State game as a quote-unquote fan in a while, but I think being at an away game where it's generally not acceptable to cheer, I'm used to that. I will say I was a little disappointed with the atmosphere here tonight, and a lot of that has to do with how well K-State played. Immediately, the crowd was just silenced. Mm-hmm. And if you're a K-State fan, who there wasn't very many in attendance, I was a little surprised. I felt like there would be a little bit more of a showing, and maybe because it was a blackout and black and purple kind of mix, and it was a little chilly, so everybody was bundled up. It was kind of hard to tell, but there wasn't very many K-State fans down here, and K-State just absolutely put the hammer down. And for the few K-State fans that were here, it was an enjoyable experience. So I will say, myself and the three, active students, will be a happy 8-hour drive back home.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be enjoyable. 8 hours. It's going to be longer than that. Let's get into the game. What an impressive performance by Kansas State, but it didn't start that way. K-State goes down the field, gets across midfield, gets into the netherlands of where Ty Zentner can hit a field goal and not. They decide to go for it on 4th and 6, and they don't convert. Baylor takes over and starts marching, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Baylor's moving the ball. They get the running game mixed in with the passing game. Blake Shapen looked comfortable and confident. The running backs were functioning. Mm-hmm. And then interception. Kobe Savage comes up with a big pick. And it really kind of seemed to take the wind out of the stadium, the Baylor sideline, and elevate K-State, kind of put some confidence in them. And because of a penalty, they start that drive at the 3-yard line. And lo and behold, they end up going the length of the field. It
came out of nowhere, honestly. I don't think anybody that was watching that first sequence of events was expecting an interception. I wasn't. I was a little surprised they decided to throw the ball in that situation. They'd been gashing K-State on the run. The offensive line for Baylor, I was actually able to sit in the end zone, and you could see their wide splits. I mean, they were just inside zone, outside zone, inside zone, outside zone. Shapen throws the pick. You mentioned it. Immediately, completely changes. And it was game on from that point.
Mm-hmm. Adrian Martinez sprained an ankle. We thought it was his knee initially, but it looks like a sprained ankle for Adrian. This is interesting, folks, and I think it's important. Chris Kleiman said in the postgame press conference that Adrian was available to come back. He would not have been 100% because he was operating on a bad knee and a bad ankle, but He was, as Cole slowly dies in the background, but he was able to come back. But Will Howard came in and did what Will Howard has done now every time he's been called upon, completely controls the game for Kansas State. I'm just so blown away by how good Will Howard is as a quarterback after what he's been through, the lack of confidence, getting thrown in as a true freshman. People just seem to gloss over that he was a 17, 18-year-old kid by the end of the season, but he was thrown in the pandemic season operating without a full roster of guys because of the pandemic and everything going on. And then he comes in for Skyler last year and gets banged around a little bit. Nobody had confidence in Will Howard, but Will Howard kept believing. And he comes in the postgame and he said, it just all started to slow down for me. It started to make sense. And everything I went through has led to this. Will Howard was fabulous. And it wasn't because it was stats driven. Let's read off some Will Howard stats here, if I can find them. We didn't get great stats here. 19 of 27 for 196 yards and 3 TDs. You set aside the 3 TDs, which I know you can't, but 19 of 27 is okay. 196 yards, okay. Deuce Vaughn ran 25 times for 106.
He shouldn't have ran the ball 25 times, by the way. I don't know why he was in there in the fourth quarter.
Yep. DJ Giddens did run it 13 times. Probably should have been on 18, as he should have taken over a little bit earlier. But what Will Howard did in this game was totally different than what he did against TCU or Oklahoma State when he came in. He made big plays. He threw the ball down the field. He was very aggressive. They hit some long shots. They took no shots with Will Howard. What he did was just move the team down the field. He matriculated the football, as they used to say.
Thank you, Hank Stram.
You bet. They matriculated the football right down the field. And because of that, they iced the Baylor offense, left the Baylor defense out there getting stressed, and rested the K-State defense. And it all played into this dominating 31-3 victory. We got to say it, and I said it on the postgame walk and talk. Kansas State is a better football team with Will Howard at quarterback. As much as I love and respect Adrian Martinez, he's a tremendous guy. He's a good quarterback. He really is. Will Howard is proving to be special. He's proving to be just steps above anyone else. That is the most stunning development I've covered in K-State sports in a very long time. Will Howard is one hell of a quarterback, and K-State can't afford not to play him. Particularly now, Cole, have you recovered, by the way?
I'm getting there.
Okay. Particularly now
Thank you.
that TCU has beaten Texas, given K-State back the second place that they squandered last week. And again, I said this on the walk and talk, I don't want to hear about they should have played Will last week. You can't look back. This was Adrian's job. He came back, he was healthy, and what happened against Texas, maybe it had all been different with Will, but it was a defensive-driven issue last week, giving up 24 points, and then the turnover led to 31 at halftime. You don't hang that loss. You hang that loss on the team. But you can't even talk about the red shirt anymore for Will Howard. You can't talk about anything other than the fact that Will Howard gives this team the best possibility to make it to the Big 12 championship, which now means simply winning at West Virginia, which is not simple, ask Oklahoma, and coming home to beat a much improved Kansas team. Will Howard makes that much more possible. And if you do that, if you win those two games, you are meeting TCU in the Big 12 championship game. It's remarkable. And as much as everyone has contributed to this, it's Will Howard. You can't deny it at this point. And I don't know how Chris Kleiman and Colin Klein are going to handle it with Adrian Martinez, but you've got to start Will Howard in Morgantown.
This has been a roller coaster of a season. All the way dating back to the Tulane loss to where this team sits right now. This has been a roller coaster of a season, just like it has been a roller coaster of a career for Will Howard. I mean, we can sit here and talk about Adrian all we want because you and I both agree. Adrian Martinez is one of the nicest people in this program, but Will Howard's right there with him.
And they're good friends.
The way that the team responds to Will, it's just different. It's just different. And I had lots of questions about Will going into the week, as you did, or last week, I should say, between who should start, Adrian or Will. I agree. You can't go back and change that game against Texas because who knows how the results pan out. It's just like if Adrian stays in this game, you have no idea what happens. Maybe he plays exactly like Will does. I mean, he was 7 of 8 for 25 yards. He was efficient. He ran the ball, but he got hurt. And so when Will came in, it just looked different. The offense looked more efficient. How about running a trick play on his first series in the game? They run a double flea flicker. I'm sitting in the stands going, will they run that with Adrian? I mean, Colin Klein and Chris Klein will say, yeah, but would they? I mean, it makes you think, and the playbook just looks so much more dynamic. I had questions about Will. Sure, you're right. He can make the big plays. But can he manage a game? Because being a game manager is not a bad thing. Tonight, he showed he can be much more than just a normal game manager. He was elite. He was elite.
He was reading the defense, going through his progressions. If you really watch him, he moves so crisply between his progressions now. This is a kid who couldn't do progressions in the past all the way. And now he's ticking through them, boom, over here to Deuce. Or he's looking off the defense because Deuce is the first choice. I think one of the things that's hardest to explain about this game for me is the fact that Baylor kept losing Deuce Vaughn in pass coverage. And Dave Aranda is a brilliant defensive coach. But how that happens is beyond explanation. And the Deuce Vaughn touchdown, Will Howard said, I knew. I mean, he was all alone out there, and the first guy wasn't going to get him, and nobody was going to get him. In the open field with Deuce with the head of steam, you're toast. You're absolutely toast. And he basically went in completely untouched, unscathed. Will Howard just cut a really good Baylor defense apart.
This was the Deuce Vaughn game. As much as we want to talk about Will, because he is the story of the game, you take the quarterback out of this situation with Malik Knowles and Cade Warner, two of the top, if not the top receivers for K-State, banged up. Now, they still had productive days. Cade had 4 catches. Malik had 3 catches, but well under their total yardage. It was obvious. Deuce Vaughn, if K-State wanted to have success, Deuce Vaughn had to have success.
Right.
If Deuce was going to have a bad day, the team was going to have a bad day. Chris Klein and Colin Klein went to Deuce Vaughn and said, you are going to win us this game. Mm-hmm. Early in the game, they were feeding him consistently. And I think that's why DJ got so many carries in the beginning part of the game. They knew they were going to have to establish the run in this game. So they wanted to make sure not only are we saving Deuce for the fourth quarter, but we're also getting DJ in. Because he can be a factor in this with this team. His role has dramatically increased. I know some people were a little curious as to why Deuce was off the field. At one point, I want to say there was a key third down, and Jaden Jackson, RJ Garcia, and DJ Giddens were all in the game. Maybe it was first down. Either way, at one point, those guys in the red zone were all in the game, and some people might have been a little bit curious about that. But I think it talks about how much they trust DJ, how much they trust this offense, and Fitz, how much they trust Will Howard, because they know that whoever they put out there, he is going to give them a chance to make a play. No better example than what Ben Sinnott did tonight. I mean, this kid has not necessarily come out of nowhere. If you've been following along at GoPowercat and you've been following this football program, you know that he's had a lot of potential. But he is quietly turning into an NFL prospect at tight end. And he's one of the best tight ends to come out of K-State since Travis Tannehill. Maybe even before that, I don't know. This kid is special, and he's a freak athlete. And Will just gives him an opportunity to go up and make a play on those 2 touchdowns. And he did. Again, when you trust your quarterback, it makes everything that much easier.
When a quarterback is consistently throwing to the tight end, I think I know a guy in Kansas City who does that a lot, and also dishing it out to the running back in passing situations, it just stresses a secondary so much. But you touched on something there that I want to get back to. Deuce Vaughn had 25 carries and how many catches? I mean, it was ridiculous.
10?
He was targeted 10 times.
8 catches, yeah.
He had 8 catches. He's healthy. And he hasn't been healthy for big chunks of the season. And you could tell because he didn't have that extra little burst. But he came back a couple weeks ago and got healthy, seemed healthy. Daniel Green came out tonight and looked like Daniel Green for the first time in a while. And he said he was healthy post-game. I said, how'd a good feel to play healthy? And he said, it's just a world of difference.
As he walks in with
with ice on his knee. But he was wrecking people.
Yeah.
Absolutely wrecking people out there. And as this game progressed, Will just feeds into the confidence of everyone. And you know what? I'm going to go farther than that. I'm going to say Will feeds in the confidence of Colin Klein as a play caller. Because when you're calling plays and your quarterback's making those plays work because he's identifying the guy in progression that needs to get the ball. He's covered here. He's covered, pass rush, get rid of the ball. One of the things Will Howard does so much better than most quarterbacks is he knows when to get rid of the ball and say, we're going to go on to another down. We're not going to have a turnover. We're not going to put the ball in jeopardy. But he's also not scared to throw the ball. Cole Carmody, that first touchdown to Ben Sinnott was an NFL elite level pass into not a narrow window. He put it through the tire at 40 yards at the county fair. I mean, I have no explanation how he did it. And Ben Sinnott said when he saw him throw it, he goes, ball's not getting. I mean, he didn't think he was going to get it. And he said, Will put it right in the only place he could have to get it to me. And then Ben Sinnott goes and competes for a ball in the corner of the end zone, the front corner of the end zone, and makes an NFL-type reception, coming back to the ball, going high. I'm covering this game, and I'm like, this is not the team I've covered. And with all respect to Bill Snyder, even when they were winning, short of the Michael Bishop years, it was work. It was work to win some games. And it was work to win games against good teams. Not saying this wasn't work, but they made it look easy.
It wasn't like anything we've seen all year. I mean, sure, they have kicked the crap out of some teams. Oklahoma State, right? Missouri. But those games felt a little bit different. You felt like, okay, things are going K-State's way. They went K-State's way tonight because they made them go their way. They absolutely abused Baylor. You take that first drive out, which ended with a pick. Baylor didn't do anything on offense. They couldn't stop K-State on defense. This was an absolute butt-kicking. The stats do not reflect how much of a butt-whooping this was. The physicality level that K-State had compared to Baylor tonight was through the roof. I figured that might be the case, and we talked about this all this week at GoPowercat. K-State has had the physical advantage in every single game they played. They got hit in the mouth against Texas. They didn't respond in the first half of that game. They built some momentum up in the second half of that game, and they kept it rolling. When Adrian Martinez got hurt, there was one of two things that was going to happen. Will Howard was going to come in the game, he was going to come back down to earth, and he was going to look like the Will Howard from the last two seasons. Or he was going to come into the game and look like the Will Howard of this year. Fitz, I'm ready to say it. The Will Howard we have seen this season is the Will Howard they thought they were getting when he came into this program, and he is developing into one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. And he has a legitimate chance, if he can finish the season strong and K-State makes it to the Big 12 championship game, to be the best returning quarterback in this conference. And that is not an overstatement.
It was just unfathomable at times what a domination of a good Baylor team it was. It was absolutely incredible. We've got a lot more to cover as Kansas State positions itself to get to the Big 12 championship game. We need to get into some other things around the conference, and also a reminder that we will have another edition of the postgame podcast. Brien Hanley is out of pocket all weekend. He's not even available, so it's not like I can fail to get him on the phone again because my equipment won't work. Brian's not available right now, but we will convene on Monday at some point to do a bonus podcast because I can't wait to hear his thoughts. I absolutely can't wait to hear his thoughts about the way this team played, why and how physical they were against a Baylor team that has been more physical than Kansas State for a number of years. And keep this in mind, the players never forgot it. Not a single player in that locker room had beaten the Baylor Bears. Even the Snyder soldiers, as Daniel Green called them, the holdovers from the Snyder program, none of them had beaten Baylor. This was a monumental win for the program. This was it felt like a get over the hump win after squandering an opportunity against Texas. Kansas State sits alone in second in the Big 12 Conference with tiebreakers on some of the teams behind them. All they got to do is win 2 more, and they're in. Let's take a quick break on the Powercat Postgame Podcast, sponsored by our friends, our buddies, our pals at Caddyshack Golf. Check it out, Caddyshack with 2 T's, CaddyshackGolf.com.
This is Kansas State's Daniel Green, the leaders in K-State sports coverage. We'll be right back with more of the Powercat Postgame Podcast.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
This is Kansas State's Felix Uzama. Welcome back to the Powercat Postgame Podcast on the 24/7 Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Powercat Postgame Podcast, sponsored by Caddyshack Golf. Tim Fitzgerald and Cole Carmody from the McLean Stadium press box. Pretty sweet setup here. You weren't in the press box for the game. It's pretty nice up here, isn't it?
And they treat you like kings.
They do. The pregame meal was, although I didn't eat it because we ate way too much before the game with friends. I got to see my friend Kelly in Vegas before the game, so that was nice. But I come up here and I got this whole buffet line of Mexican food, and then the seats are, well, we've got these. Never mind. Well, let's get back to the game. Make sure you check out everything at Caddyshack Golf. It's Caddy with 2 T's. CaddyshackGolf.com. Boy, God, Christmas is coming, fellas. Get on Caddyshack. Just get some links. Send it to the wife. Look, I'm sorry I'm sexist. Ladies, if you're a golfer too, get some links, send it to the husband. I don't care if you aren't a golfer. Go check their stuff out. It is really nice. I like it a lot. Caddyshack Golf, Caddy with 2 T's. Use code GPC for free shipping on your next order. Kansas State wins this game 31-3 over the Baylor Bears. Kansas State is now 7-3 on the season. They are 5-2 in the Big 12. With a road game at West Virginia, don't sleep on it. Oklahoma thought they were going to roll in there and win, and they lost. Baylor rolled in there thinking they were going to win, and they lost. Kansas State cannot look past West Virginia. They're wounded. They're fighting for their coach's life. talking Morgantown is Neil Brown's done at the end of the season. Not if you beat Oklahoma and Baylor and Kansas State on your home field. How do you fire a guy after that? A lot will be at stake for West Virginia, and keep this in mind. They can still get bowl eligible by beating K-State, and I don't even know who they play in their last game, but they can get there.
New quarterback, too, most likely.
New quarterback. It's a very intriguing game, and then, of course, the much-improved Kansas Jayhawks roll in after Thanksgiving for a huge game. It's going to be sold out. It's going to be rowdy. Everyone's going to be hopefully over their turkey sleepiness, because if Kansas State wins those two games, they're going to play TCU in the Big 12 championship game. Cole, that's amazing.
Who would have thought that we would have said that?
Who would have
at
thought
the start of today?
That would be, but who would have thought at the start of the season that would be the matchup?
Yeah.
I mean, these were teams picked for the middle to bottom of this conference, and it just shows how incredibly competitive this conference continues to be week in and week out. Texas is a perfect example. Texas played an incredible half of football against Kansas State. They won a game because they played one half of football, and they come home. And I literally think, I picked TCU to win. One of the few games I got right this weekend, I thought Texas would just think we're Texas and we're going to win this game. And while I didn't watch the game, it was simultaneous to this game. What I watched, it was a bar fight. I mean, it was 3-0 at halftime. It was a bar fight. And the Frogs were tougher. And after seeing the two teams, I could have told you TCU's a tougher, more determined, better coached football team, even if Texas is more talented. This is incredible, because now Will Howard coming in, TCU knows what they're getting with him if they meet the Big 12 championship. Very, very interesting.
The talent gap between the number 4 team in the country in TCU, the number 18 team in the country in Texas, the number 19 team in the country in K-State is so slim. Mm-hmm. K-State has 3 losses. TCU has none. But you could legitimately make the argument that K-State is a better team than TCU on any given Saturday. You don't want to look ahead. That's not what you want to do. But guess what? We're not on the team. We can look ahead. There's no rule that says people in the media or fans can't look ahead. So I'm gonna do it. Okay. If that were to be the case, I don't know what the spread would be. I'm not an odds maker. You should ask your friend. But man. It gives me goosebumps to think about that. But again, that doesn't happen if this game doesn't happen tonight. This is going to go down as one of the bigger wins in this program's history. People still have questions about Chris Klieman. There is that small majority of people who wonder if he is the right coach for K-State.
Hold on, small majority? Minority.
Minority.
Right.
Not small majority, yeah. Minority of people who can question if he is still the person that should lead this team. After tonight, those questions should be gone. Yeah. I mean, there's a segment of people out there, small, but why?
I don't understand it, because this program has really thrived under him after picking up the pieces from what was a dwindled roster. It just the quality and quantity of players weren't there that we'd seen typically under Bill Snyder, and it was time for a change. And he's ramping it up. COVID set him back. Transfer portal's been a curveball for the entire college athletics world. That was a good cough. That was good.
Thank you.
But yeah, Chris has done he was so happy after the game.
I've never seen him like that.
I know. He was so funny with me, because he was like, Fitz, don't tell me what happened in that TCU game.
Yeah.
I go, you're going to like it. He goes, don't tell me. And then after the press conference, he goes, what is it? And I go, 17-3. He goes, what? And I go, yeah, it's 5 minutes left, 17-3, TCU. They just 4 and out at him, and they held him on 4 downs in the red zone. They're probably going to win. Then Texas puts a scare in at the end, but
he didn't have to know that.
No, but TCU got it done. Ben Sinnott, we talked about him briefly. Let's talk about Ben U.S. Sinnott. I mean, he's America's tight end. This kid has blossomed, and I love how Cliven says after every game Sinnott plays,
that's my boy.
He's from my hometown.
Every time.
You know, it's like, well, I know it's your hometown, but it's actually kind of a big town. I mean, it's not like you're both from Chapman, Kansas. Yeah. But Ben has just really become a special player. And like anyone who's been following along knows I love throwing the ball to the tight end. And K-State did it so much early in the Bill Snyder era. And then they just stopped. And, Coach Snyder got so conservative that he always kept the tight end to block, and then he'd use Travis Tannehill as an option. But now Ben Sinnott running the seam routes, Ben Sinnott working in the back of the end zone. He's a legitimate weapon.
He's a matchup nightmare.
And he goes and gets the ball. It's not like he's just big. He has that Travis Kelce, and I'm not comparing him, but just the simple idea that I'm bigger than you, get the hell out of my way, that's my pass. It's fun.
Do you really want to wait? This is what makes the passing game so interesting, when you can have a Ben Sinnott and a Deuce Vaughn. Do you want to put a linebacker on Ben Sinnott?
No, you can't run with him.
You can't. So you want to put a safety on him?
Yes.
So does that mean you want to put a linebacker on Deuce Vaughn?
I know, that's exactly it.
Between those two guys, somebody's going to have the mismatch. Tonight, it was Ben Sinnott. Maybe next week it'll be Deuce Vaughn. But when you have those two options and a linebacker has to guard one of those two guys, it's not going to work.
Well, Baylor at times, though, let's be honest, decided to put a safety on Ben Sinnott and then nobody on Deuce Vaughn.
That's a bold strategy.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. It did not work out very well. And here's, we're just going to say it. I mean, it needs to be said at this point. Will Howard takes advantage of all those things. Will Howard stresses the defense in ways that Adrian Martinez hasn't been, because he spreads the ball out to Ben Sinnott, to Deuce Vaughn, to the receivers. And he also can keep you honest with his run game. He is not Adrian Martinez in the run game. But there was a point in the game where they were not looking at Will Howard as a running quarterback, and he kept it on his own read and went for about 8 yards and turned, I think it was a 2nd and 9 into a 3rd and 1. And I think that changed how Baylor's like, oh crap, he can't run. We knew he could run, but he's willing to do it.
Yeah.
He just stresses a defense because he finds your weak point. And if the line can protect, which they did for the most part tonight, Baylor started bringing some more pressure, but he just finds that guy. I asked Will Howard in postgame about one play that really stood out, and it wasn't a scoring play, but he had a blitz coming off the corner, and he, being right-handed, could see this.
3rd down, 4th down?
It was 3rd, I think.
3rd and long, right?
Yeah, and he's waiting on Phil Brooks to get across the middle to break into the open space, which was coming, and he got rid of that ball in the split second before he was hit really hard. And in fact, the hit started and he still released the ball. Perfectly thrown ball. Will Howard, the timing of all that in his head now, he knew that Phil's running this fast. It was almost like calculus. Phil's running this fast. The blitz is coming at me this fast. I've got just that amount of time to get rid of it. He did it perfectly. Again, that's elite quarterback stuff. Will Howard, the guy that so many fans booed, who all of us had lost faith in, we had. The coaches brought in Adrian Martinez. If they thought this Will Howard was going to exist, Adrian Martinez would not be in Manhattan at all.
Nope.
And here he is.
This is the same Will Howard that had to delete social media because of the negative backlash some fans were giving him.
Mm-hmm.
There's an old saying that says, "This is why we lift weights." Fitz?
No, I don't lift weights.
You don't know that? Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you lift weights.
Right.
To hang into the pocket, to deliver those balls. That's why you stay in a program for that long, because you trust the culture that the staff is building. Will Howard being good is a major reflection on that coaching staff for the culture, yes. But it is a reflection on a young man who is willing to bet on himself. Not bet on himself by going into the transfer portal and going to go play for a school out east that's, say
right.
Penn or something like that, right? Back closer to home. No. He wants to stay because he knows his time is going to come and he's going to capitalize on it. Whatever the decision is, we think it's going to be to play Will. He's going to be fine with it.
Right.
He's a team guy. He wants to win. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care if he gets hit in the pocket. He doesn't care if he doesn't play. He wants to win. And when he's out on the field, he's going to make sure that his team is going to win.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating, this progression he's made. And it's a good lesson for everyone that, particularly when it's a young player, giving up or getting down on them you can't treat your own players the ways that he was treated at times.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's well put. Now some bad news. Well, first of all, the good news is it doesn't look like the injuries to Josh Moore and Echo Boydo or
Josh Hayes.
Oh, Josh Moore. Josh Hayes or Echo Boydo are that severe. Kobe Savage, however, even Chris Kleiman, the guy who typically says, I don't know, I got to see it, said it doesn't look good.
That's not good.
And Kobe has played at such an elite level. He's been such a blessing to this program because he's not only a great player, he's just an awesome kid. He's an amazing young man coming back, into Texas and playing and then getting hurt. He made a huge interception in this game. Hopefully they get him back. Hopefully it's not season ending. Hopefully at the very least they can get him back for the Big 12 title game. Here we go, Cole. It's all gotten very serious now for K-State. They have to lock in on one at a time. And if they can do that, they're going to get back down here to Arlington. And folks, I'm just telling you, do I believe this team is going to end up in Arlington? I made our hotel reservations for the game a couple weeks ago after the Oklahoma State game, knowing mathematically they could still lose to Texas and get their way in, because if there's one thing I know about Texas football, they can play at elite level, but only for so long before they start thinking they're Texas and they don't have to work as hard as everyone. And they showed it again today. TCU comes in here next week.
Oof, that's going to be a great game.
And Baylor's going to be pissed.
They might win that game.
And TCU's going to probably think, okay, we just ran the gauntlet. We're through it like K-State has. Now we get a team that's struggling. You can't do that in this conference with anyone. With anyone.
So am I hearing that you're going to pick the Baylor Bears to beat TCU?
Oh, that's another thing I need to clarify. I picked K-State to win on my TV show and also in a parlay that I would have won if TCU and Texas didn't turn into a defensive struggle. I was going to make a lot of money if they just scored the points everyone expected. I did pick Baylor on my official picks for my On the Line segment. Mm-hmm. And folks, when I pick West Virginia next week, just trust the process. Just trust the process. I have missed K-State more this season in picks than I ever remember. I picked them to lose at Oklahoma. They won. I picked them to lose against Oklahoma State. They won. I picked them to beat Texas.
Yes, you
did.
They
lost. I picked them to lose this game. They won.
You can't switch up the mojo, though. I mean, you have to go with your gut. That's all that I know. You can sit here and say you're going to pick West Virginia, but if you say that, then you're acknowledging this. I think it's reverse psychology.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and now I'm spoiling
because
this
now they know that now the football gods understand that the man behind the magic Fitz understands that they have a plan. So just pick with your head, and I'm going to say that whatever you pick next week is going to be right.
Are you telling me that my picks actually don't have any effect on the outcome
I'm
of the
telling
game?
you, it's kind of like winning the toss and taking the ball.
All right.
You're going to get the ball at some point.
Oh, man. Well, I'll know this. I can't pick KU to beat K-State in a couple weeks. The heck with it. I'll pick K-State next week. And if I screw this up, it's all my fault. Cole, thank you for sticking around to do this. Get to your hotel. You got a long drive tomorrow.
I'm going to eat some In-N-Out first.
In-N-Out. That's it. In-N-Out and Whataburger. They both pale in comparison to Caddyshack Golf.
Thank you for listening to the Powercat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com.
On Paramount Plus.
The choice is lightning in a bottle.
When you are associated with something legendary, you're like, what am I supposed to do now?
Witness the story of Black Sheep's Dreads and his new chance of a lifetime. Catch The Choice is Yours, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.